just having done the fun thing where I gave a lecture and assigned an exercise on masks using Premiere Pro 2025, just to discover that Premiere Pro 2026 does masks very differently. Now seems like a good time to go ahead and make a video dedicated to that. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about using masks in Adobe Premiere Pro 2026. So you can see here in my workspace, I've got 3 versions of the same clip out here on the timeline, and that's just for ease here. But in 2025 and other previous versions of Premiere Pro, when you wanted to add a mask to something, all you had to do was come over here to opacity, and there were options for masking. There was a little rectangle, there was an ellipse, there was a pen tool. There were all kinds of different ways you could mask over here, but you'll notice they're not here anymore. What you have to do is come down here into your toolbar here, and you'll see this guy right here, Object Mask Tool. Now, this is kind of cool if you use it as is, because it allows you to go ahead and take that and then come out here and just select an object in your frame. So for instance, I'm going to use this cup. And you can see it creates a mask around that cup. But if I come here and play it, nothing really happens. It's just kind of highlighted red. And that's because we have not assigned this mask yet. So what you have to do is come here to your unassigned mask, because you have an object mask. I'm going to go ahead and twirl that up a little bit. You have to click this and drag it down to opacity, which assigns that as an opacity mask. Now, once you've done that, you can do all the same things you're used to doing. You can invert it, you can do all the different things, but basically it will mask this as though you had traced it out. Come out here, go ahead and click out, and you can see our cup is gone. If I pause this, again select this, uninvert my mask, and you can see that like now all we see is the cup. Can you still do masks in the way you used to do them? Absolutely. So if you come over here and let's say I need to mask out just a portion of this, and I want to actually use the rectangle tool or the ellipse. So in this case, what I do is I go ahead and select my clip, and I come down here, click and hold, and you can see we have the rectangle, we have the ellipse. I said those backwards, but we still have those. So let's say I wanted to do an ellipse, right? Go ahead and bring that, and I go ahead and make my ellipse. I position it where I want it to be. And now I come over here, and again, I do have to assign this mask. So I'm going to go ahead and take this down here and drop it to opacity, and now we've created an ellipse. And this works for the rectangle and all of that. Now, the one thing I will say here, I'm going to go ahead and delete this mask. And I'm going to use a rectangle, just for ease. I'm going to go ahead and draw my mask, and I am going to go ahead and apply it to opacity. One of the things that you do have to be careful about with this version of masking is that you can't really mess with the path in the same way that you used to. What you want to do is under transform, come here, and then you can adjust your position and things like that in your keyframe, which is a little different than it used to be, but it still works. Now, if you want to do a effect mask that you want to apply to a very specific area, right? Let's say, in this case, that there's some sensitive imagery on this screen. If I want to then block that or blur that out, how do I do that? Well, first of all, you select your clip, and just like you would if the mask were over here, you go ahead and you come on and select the pen tool in the mask, and you can just come out here and draw that mask just like you would have in previous versions of Premiere. Now, if I wanted to assign this as an opacity mask, all I would have to do is drag it down, but while the mask is selected, if I want to blur this out, right, if I come here to my effects and we look up Gaussian blur and drag that on there, it will automatically assign that mask to the effect that we have created, because effects no longer have their masking tools either. But it's really Just that simple. And you can't necessarily see it here because it's just a green screen. But if I take my Gaussian blur, let's go ahead and come down here to our controls. Let's up our amount a little bit. And under transform, let's up our expansion just so you can see that it is actually blurring, right? So you can still do all the same things you used to do. It's just a little bit more involved now. The real key is just making sure that you are keyframing underneath your actual transform tabs and parameters rather than trying just to reshape the path, because if you just try and reshape the path, it's not going to do anything. Things I learned after I gave a lecture and had 22 students looking at me going, what you said does not work. So there's the life lesson. Technology always changes, and you got to learn to grow with it. So, keep shooting.